Tom Reed pressed his face against the transport ship's window, watching as Outpost Station Delta grew larger against the backdrop of endless stars. The research station looked like a giant metal spider, its 8 extending arms glowing with pale blue lights. Each arm housed different research labs, but Arm 7 was special. It contained the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy. The transport ship docked smoothly, and Tom gathered his few belongings. After 3 years of applying, he had finally gotten his dream job at the galaxy's premier xenobiology research station. His heart raced with excitement as he walked through the airlock. Dr. Lisa, the head scientist, waited for him in the arrival area. She was a tall woman with graying hair and stern eyes that had seen too many accidents. "Welcome to Delta Station, Mr. Reed. I hope you understand that this isn't like your previous posts. Here, one mistake means death." Tom nodded, trying to hide his enthusiasm behind a professional face. "I've read all the safety protocols, Doctor. Twice." "Reading isn't experiencing," she replied, leading him through the station's bright corridors. "We lost 2 researchers last month. They thought they understood our specimens too." Her words hung heavy in the air. As they walked, other scientists and staff members hurried past, all wearing the same tired, cautious expressions. Tom noticed how they all kept looking over their shoulders, as if expecting something to pounce at any moment. "Your main assignment will be observing and documenting behavior patterns," Dr. Lisa explained as they approached Arm 7. "But first, you need to understand what you're dealing with." She stopped at a massive security door marked Maximum Containment, Level X. After 3 security scans, they entered a dimly lit observation room. The wall before them was made of transparent metal, beyond which lay the most advanced containment cell Tom had ever seen. Multiple force fields shimmered in layers, and robotic arms held various sensors and defensive weapons. "This is why you're here," Dr. Lisa said, pressing a button that slightly increased the room's lighting. Tom's breath caught in his throat. In the cell, a creature moved. At first, it seemed like flowing darkness itself, but as it shifted, Tom could make out a form. It was roughly the size of a large earth tiger, but its body seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its movements were impossibly smooth, like liquid shadow. "The Shadow Hunter," Dr. Lisa said quietly, "captured 3 months ago on the edge of known space. It's killed 11 people since then, 4 during its capture alone. The strongest predator we've ever encountered." But Tom barely heard her. He was transfixed by the creature's movements. Something about them seemed deliberate, calculated. This wasn't the random pacing of a caged animal. "Has anyone tried to communicate with it?" he asked. Dr. Lisa's laugh was sharp and bitter. "Communicate? Mr. Reed, this isn't some sentient species. It's a killing machine." The last researcher who thought otherwise lost both arms trying to communicate with it. The creature turned suddenly, facing the window. Tom found himself staring into eyes that glowed like dying stars, deep purple with specks of silver. Those weren't the eyes of a mindless predator. They were studying him, assessing him. "What do we feed it?" Tom asked, not breaking eye contact with the creature. "Synthesized protein blocks. It's the only thing we can give it without risking security protocols. Though it barely touches them," Dr. Lisa answered, checking her tablet. "Your shift starts tomorrow at 600. Remember, observe only. No interactions, no experiments without proper clearance." She turned to leave but paused at the door. "And Mr. Reed, don't let those eyes fool you. Everyone it's killed probably saw the same thing you think you're seeing now." But as Tom stood there, alone in the observation room, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was seeing something everyone else had missed. The creature moved again, and this time, Tom was sure, its movements weren't random. They were a pattern, repeating every 17 steps. Looking down at his tablet, he began counting. 17 steps. Pause, turn, repeat. It wasn't pacing. It was trying to tell him something. Tom Reed smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. He had a lot of work to do. 3 weeks passed, and Tom Reed hadn't left the observation room except to sleep. His desk was covered with tablets showing endless recordings of the shadow hunter. Dark circles had formed under his eyes, but excitement burned in them as he reviewed his notes for the 100th time. "You're obsessed," Dr. Lisa said from the doorway, making Tom jump. "Security reports you've been here 18 hours straight today." Tom straightened in his chair. "I found something important. Look at this." He pulled up a video on the main screen. "Watch the creature's movements at normal speed. Looks random, right?" Dr. Lisa nodded, crossing her arms. "Now watch at 1/10 speed." Tom slowed the footage down. "See how it places its feet? It's not random. It's making shapes. Complex, geometric patterns. It's a predator marking territory," Dr. Lisa said, but doubt crept into her voice. "Predators don't make perfect hexagons," Tom replied. He showed another clip, or precise right angles, or he paused the video. This is what convinced me." On the screen, the shadow hunter had traced what looked exactly like the mathematical symbol for infinity. Dr. Lisa's face paled. "This isn't possible. There's more." Tom stood up and walked to the containment window. The creature was there, watching them with those strange purple eyes. "It responds to numbers. Watch this." Tom held up 3 fingers. The creature immediately walked in a triangle. 4 fingers, a square. 5 fingers, a pentagon. Dr. Lisa grabbed his arm. "Stop that immediately. Direct interaction is strictly forbidden." "But don't you see?" Tom's voice rose with excitement. "It's not just intelligent. It's trying to prove its intelligence to us. We've been so busy being afraid, we missed what was right in front of us." A loud alarm suddenly blared through the room. Red lights flashed as Security Chief James burst in with 2 guards. "We've got unauthorized communication with the specimen," one guard reported into his radio. "Mr. Reed," Chief James said firmly, "step away from the window. Now." Tom didn't move. "Chief, please, I can prove this creature is sentient. Just give me 5 minutes." "That creature killed 11 people," James replied. "Step away." Behind the containment field, the shadow hunter had gone completely still, its eyes fixed on the guards' weapons. "Look how it recognizes the threat," Tom said quickly. "That's not instinct. That's tactical awareness. It understands what guns are." "All predators recognize weapons," Dr. Lisa said, but she was staring at the creature with new eyes. "Then explain this." Tom turned to the window. He raised his right hand, palm out, the universal sign for stop. The shadow hunter immediately sat down. The room went silent except for the blaring alarm. Tom raised his left hand. "Come." The creature stood and walked forward, stopping exactly 1 meter from the containment field. "Sweet mercy," Chief James whispered. "It's been learning our gestures," Tom explained, "studying us while we studied it. But there's something else." He picked up his tablet and held it against the window. On it was a simple message: "Hello." Everyone in the room held their breath. The shadow hunter looked at the tablet. Then, using its movements, it began tracing letters in the air. Slowly, deliberately, it spelled out HELLO. Dr. Lisa dropped her tablet with a clatter. Chief James lowered his weapon. "That's impossible," one of the guards whispered. "No," Tom said quietly. "We just never gave them a chance to show us who they really are." He turned to Dr. Lisa. "I need permission to establish proper communication. We're not dealing with a mindless predator. We're dealing with a member of an advanced species." The shadow hunter was still watching them, its starlight eyes seeming to hold ancient wisdom. It raised one shadowy limb and pressed it against the containment field, a perfect mirror of a human hand. Dr. Lisa stared at the creature for a long moment. Finally, she took a deep breath. "Document everything," she said. "If you're wrong about this, it's all our lives on the line." Tom nodded, already pulling up a new document on his tablet. Behind him, The shadow hunter began tracing new patterns in the air. The real communication was about to begin. 2 days had passed since the breakthrough, and Tom hadn't slept at all. He sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the containment field, his tablet displaying a simple language program he had created. On the other side, the shadow hunter sat in a mirror position. "Let's try again," Tom said softly. He typed on his tablet. "What should I call you?" The creature moved with fluid grace, its body forming shapes that the computer translated. The response appeared on Tom's screen. "In your sounds, Shade." Tom smiled. "Shade," he repeated. "It fits you." Dr. Lisa watched from the corner, recording everything. She still kept her distance, but her fear had been replaced by wonder. "Ask it about its species," she suggested. Tom typed the question. Shade's response was longer this time, requiring several minutes of movement to convey the message. "We are nightwalkers, not predators as you think. We are guardians, peacekeepers. I am diplomat, was studying humans when captured." The revelation hit the room like a thunderbolt. Chief James, who had been standing guard, stepped forward. "A diplomat? Then why didn't you say something when we captured you?" Shade's movements were quick, almost frustrated. "Tried. Many times. Your kind sees with fear. Fear blinds." Only Tom saw patterns. Tom felt a mix of pride and sadness at these words. "But the deaths during your capture?" he asked through the tablet. "Self-defense only. Could have killed all. Chose not to. We hunt for food, not sport. Never kill intelligent beings except in defense." Dr. Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. "All this time, we've been holding a diplomatic representative in a cage. The higher-ups won't like this," Chief James muttered. Shade moved again, forming new patterns. "Must warn. Danger comes, not from me. From your own." Tom leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Station leaders knew truth. Wanted Nightwalker biology. Want our hunting skills for weapons. Not first attempt. The room went silent. Tom looked at Dr. Lisa, who had gone pale. "Director Marcus," she whispered. "He's been pushing for invasive testing. Said it was vital for security research." Shade's movements became more urgent. "More of your kind come tomorrow. We'll cut, we'll hurt, we'll study. Must prevent. Not for my sake. For all. Weapons from my kind's blood would devastate galaxy." Tom stood up, his mind racing. Everything he believed about his dream job, about the station's mission, was crumbling. But one thing was clear. He couldn't let them harm Shade. "We need to get you out of here," he said. "That's treason," Chief James warned, but his hand wasn't on his weapon. "No," Dr. Lisa said, standing up. "Holding a diplomatic representative against their will. That's the real crime here." She looked at Shade. "How many others of your kind have they captured?" Shade's response was grim. 3 stations, 12 diplomats. All dead now. I am last." Tom felt sick. He looked at Chief James and Dr. Lisa. "Are you with me?" Dr. Lisa nodded immediately. James hesitated, then sighed. "This goes against everything I'm supposed to do." He paused. "But not everything I should do. I'm in." Shade moved again, forming one last message. "Thank you. Trust given will be trust honored. Nightwalkers remember friends." Its purple eyes seemed to glow brighter. "And protect them." Tom placed his hand against the containment field. On the other side, Shade's shadowy form did the same. In that moment, despite the barrier between them, despite their different species, Tom felt a connection he'd never experienced before. They had until tomorrow to save not just Shade, but perhaps the peace of the entire galaxy. "Tell us everything you know about the station's security," Tom said. "We're getting you out of here tonight." Tom's fingers flew across his tablet as he dug deeper into the station's classified files. Chief James had given him emergency access codes, and what he found made his blood run cold. "Look at this," he whispered to Dr. Lisa, who stood guard at the door. On his screen, files marked Project Shadow revealed years of secret research. They've been hunting Nightwalkers for decades. Behind the containment field, Shade watched silently as Tom uncovered the horrible truth. 12 research stations, Tom Reed, his voice shaking, all dedicated to studying Nightwalker biology. They weren't just capturing diplomats. They were baiting them. He opened another file. They would fake distress signals from human ships, knowing the Nightwalkers would come to help. Dr. Lisa's face showed pure disgust, using their own kindness against them. Tom kept reading. Director Marcus led the whole program. They wanted to create super soldiers using Nightwalker DNA. The ability to move like shadows, hunt in darkness, survive in space without suits. He looked at Shade. That's why your people started avoiding human space. Shade's movements translated into text. Many young ones wanted war. Elders chose patience, hoped humans would learn better way. The door slid open, making everyone jump. Chief James rushed in, his face pale. We've got trouble. Director Marcus is back early, with a full security team. They're heading this way. Tom quickly closed the files but kept one critical document open, proof of the illegal program. How long do we have? 5 minutes, maybe less. James checked his weapon. And I've got more bad news. They're bringing their own containment unit. They're going to move Shade to the main lab tonight. Dr. Lisa grabbed Tom's arm. The main lab is where they did the dissections. Rage filled Tom's chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. They needed a plan. He turned to Shade. If we drop the containment field, can you escape on your own? Fields have neural disruptors, James cut in. Even if we shut them down, the backup systems would knock out any organic matter that passes through. We'd need to shut down the whole station's power grid. Shade moved, forming new words. Cannot run. More humans would die. Must expose truth. Must stop program. Tom nodded, an idea forming. What if we didn't just expose the truth about this station? What if we exposed everything? He held up his tablet. These files contain details of all 12 research stations. If we broadcast this to every major news network in human space, they'd never be able to cover it up. Dr. Lisa finished, eyes widening. But the broadcasting array is in the central hub, James said. Highest security on the station. We'd need a miracle to reach it. Shade moved again, or a distraction. Tom looked at the Shadow Hunter, understanding dawning. You're not just their experiment. You're their greatest fear. Tom, no, Dr. Lisa started, but he cut her off. If there was a containment breach, every security protocol would focus on recapturing Shade. Nobody would be watching the broadcasting array. James checked his watch. Director's team is almost here. If we're doing this, it has to be now. Tom looked at each of them, then at Shade. It's your choice. It's risky, if anything goes wrong. Shade's response was immediate. Trust given. Trust honored. Ready. Tom took a deep breath and nodded to James. Kill the power to the containment field on my mark. He turned to Dr. Lisa. Get to the broadcasting station. Upload everything. Finally, he looked at Shade. Just try not to hurt anyone unless you have to. The Shadow Hunter's eyes glowed with what Tom could have sworn was amusement. We'll be gentle. Mostly. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Director Marcus's voice carried through the door. Security override. Authorization Marcus 1. Tom's hand hovered over his tablet's emergency protocols. Ready? 3 humans and 1 Shadow Hunter, about to challenge the most powerful secret research program in human space. Now, chaos erupted in Outpost Station Delta. Red emergency lights flashed as alarms screamed through every corridor. Security teams rushed toward Arm 7, their boots thundering on metal floors. But Tom Reed wasn't watching them. He was watching Shade. The moment the containment field dropped, the Shadow Hunter had become living darkness. It moved like liquid night, flowing around Director Marcus's security team as they burst through the door. Not attacking, just dancing between them, causing confusion and panic. "The specimen is loose," Marcus shouted, his face red with rage. "Shoot it! Shoot!" His words cut off as Shade swept past him, knocking weapons from his guard's hands without hurting anyone. Tom couldn't help but smile. Even now, proving exactly what kind of being it really was, Shade chose not to harm them. "This way," Chief James called from the corridor. "We've got 4 minutes until backup power restores the containment fields." They ran through the dimly lit station, Shade flowing beside them like a living shadow. But they weren't alone. Other station staff, seeing what was happening, began to help. A young lab technician accidentally spilled his coffee, making 3 guards slip. A maintenance worker forgot to mention the shortcut security was about to take was under repair. Even the station's cook found a way to help, releasing steam from the kitchen vents to create cover. "Why are they helping us?" Tom asked as they ran. "Word spreads fast," James replied. "Lots of people suspected something wrong here. They just needed proof and courage." They reached a junction where Dr. Lisa was waiting. "Broadcasting room is 2 levels up," she said, holding up Tom's tablet with the stolen files. "But Marcus has called for station-wide lockdown. We'll never make it through the main corridors." Shade's movements translated on Tom's portable screen. "Show me station maps." "No, another way." Tom quickly pulled up the station schematics. Shade studied them for just a second, then moved again. "Maintenance tunnels between walls can guide you. Those tunnels are barely big enough to crawl through," James warned. "But security doesn't monitor them," Dr. Lisa added. "They could work." More footsteps approached. They were running out of time. Shade moved quickly. "We'll clear path to tunnel entrance. We'll distract guards. You 3, go, spread truth." Tom hesitated. "We're not splitting up. We do this together." The Shadow Hunter's purple eyes met his. "Trust given. Trust honored. Go. We'll be safe." Before Tom could argue, Shade flowed into the corridor. They heard shouts of surprise, then the sound of security teams running in the wrong direction. "It's protecting us," Dr. Lisa whispered. "Come on." They found the maintenance tunnel entrance behind a loose panel. As they crawled through the narrow space, they could hear chaos echoing through the station walls. Occasionally, a shadow darker than dark would flow past them through cracks in the metal, letting them know Shade was still watching over them. "Almost there," James grunted as they approached the broadcast level. "But the broadcasting room will be guarded." Just then, they heard Director Marcus's voice over the station speakers. "Attention all personnel. This is not a drill. We have a Class X containment breach. All security forces to Arm 7 immediately. The specimen must be recaptured at all costs." Tom smiled in the darkness. Sounds like Shade is keeping them busy. They reached the broadcasting room's maintenance entrance. Through the grate, they could see 2 guards still at their post. "Now what?" Dr. Lisa whispered. A familiar dark form flowed through the wall beside them. Shade's message appeared on Tom's screen. Now we show them real meaning of trust." As Tom watched his friend prepare to create one final distraction, he realized something amazing. The galaxy's deadliest predator had become their gentlest protector. The truth was about to reach the stars. The 2 guards never saw it coming. One moment they were watching the broadcasting room doors. The next they were wrapped in living shadow. Shade held them gently but firmly as Tom, Dr. Lisa, and Chief James dropped from the maintenance tunnel. "Don't shout," Tom told the guards quietly. "We're not here to hurt anyone. We just want the truth to come out." The younger guard looked at Shade, then at Tom. "Is it true? About the secret program?" "See for yourself." Tom held up his tablet, showing the files about Project Shadow. The guards read quickly, their faces growing pale. The older one looked at his partner, then at James. "We didn't sign up for this." He dropped his weapon. "Do what you need to do." Shade released them both. They walked to the door, then paused. "We'll delay anyone who comes this way," the younger one said. Inside the broadcasting room, Dr. Lisa worked quickly at the main console. Uploading files now. Every major news network in human space will have this in 5 minutes. Director Marcus will try to stop the broadcast, James warned, watching the security feeds. As if on cue, the station speakers crackled. "This is Director Marcus. Security teams to the broadcasting room immediately. Shoot to kill. Repeat. Shoot to kill." Tom looked at Shade. "They're coming with real weapons now. Maybe you should." Shade's message appeared on his screen. "Will not leave, friends." The first explosion rocked the station. Emergency barriers began slamming down throughout the corridors. "They're sealing us in," James shouted. 2 minutes until full upload, Dr. Lisa reported, her fingers flying over the controls. More explosions. They were blasting through the emergency barriers. Shade moved to the center of the room. "Must protect. Stand close." Tom, Lisa, and James huddled together as Shade's form expanded, surrounding them like a living shield of darkness. Through the shadowy barrier, they could see the door beginning to glow red as cutting torches worked on it. "Upload at 60%, Lisa said. The door burst inward. Director Marcus himself led the security team, carrying what looked like a massive energy weapon. "Step away from that console," he ordered. "This ends now." "No," Tom said firmly. "The truth comes out now." Marcus aimed his weapon. "The truth. The truth is that humanity needs weapons to survive. The galaxy is full of predators. We need the strongest predator of all on our side." "Wrong," Tom replied. "We don't need weapons. We need understanding. We need trust." He looked at Shade. "We need friends." "Weapons are ready," one of Marcus's men reported. "Neural disruptors at full power." "Upload at 90%, Lisa whispered. Marcus's face twisted with rage. "Kill them all." Energy beams lanced through the room, but never reached their targets. Shade's body absorbed every shot, the shadow substance rippling but holding firm. "Upload complete," Lisa shouted triumphantly. Marcus screamed in fury and fired his special weapon. A blinding flash filled the room, but when it cleared, Shade still stood, unharmed. The Shadow Hunter's message appeared on Tom's screen one last time. "Trust given. Trust honored. Now watch." Shade's form expanded explosively, flowing around the security team like a tide of living night. Not hurting, just containing. Weapons clattered to the floor. Marcus found himself wrapped in shadow, unable to move. "Listen," Tom said to everyone in the room. "Just listen." From the console came the sound of 1,000 news broadcasts starting at once. The truth about Project Shadow spreading across human space like wildfire. It was over. Shade released everyone except Marcus, flowing back to stand beside Tom. Together, Human and Shadow Hunter faced the fallen director. "You're wrong about predators," Tom said quietly. "The most dangerous ones don't look like monsters. They wear uniforms and give orders, and think they're above the law." He looked at Shade. "The truly powerful. They protect. They show mercy. They offer trust." Through the station windows, they could see ships approaching. Police vessels, news ships, probably government investigators too. The truth was out. Everything was about to change. 3 months had passed since the events at Outpost Station Delta. Tom Reeves stood before the Galactic Council, his formal suit feeling stiff and uncomfortable. Beside him, Shade's dark form rippled slightly, a sign Tom had learned meant amusement. "So different from prison clothes," Tom whispered to his friend, tugging at his collar. After the broadcast, everything had happened quickly. Director Marcus and his collaborators were arrested. All 12 research stations were shut down. And most importantly, the Nightwalkers had finally made official contact with humanity. The council chamber was packed with representatives from 100 worlds. Some looked afraid of Shade, but most showed curiosity. Progress, Tom thought, starts with curiosity. The council leader, an elderly woman with kind eyes, spoke first. 6 months ago, we thought Nightwalkers were mindless predators. Today, we welcome them as friends. She smiled at Tom. Thanks to one human who chose to look past fear. Tom stepped forward. I just paid attention. The real credit goes to Shade and the Nightwalkers. They suffered at our hands for years, but still chose peace over revenge. Shade moved, its words appearing on the chamber's main screen for all to see. Revenge brings only darkness. Understanding brings light. Tom showed us not all humans choose fear. We choose trust in return. The council leader nodded. And that is why we are here today, to formalize the first Human Nightwalker Alliance. Dr. Lisa, now the head of the new Xenobiology Ethics Committee, stood up from her seat. The alliance will focus on cooperative research, learning from each other, not experimenting on each other. There's more. Chief James added from his new position as head of interspecies security. The Nightwalkers have agreed to help establish peacekeeping patrols in dangerous sectors. Their skills will protect ships of all species. Tom watched as representatives signed the historic agreement. He remembered those first days in the observation room, counting Shade's steps. Such a small thing. Just paying attention, just being willing to look past assumptions. Shade moved again. Tell them about the schools, friend Tom. Tom smiled. The schools were his favorite part. We're establishing joint education centers, he announced. Places where humans and Nightwalkers can learn about each other directly. No more fear, no more misunderstanding. And you will lead this program, the council leader asked. Along with Shade, Tom corrected. We're better together than apart. That's the whole point. After the ceremony, Tom and Shade stood by a huge window overlooking the galaxy. Stars sparkled like scattered diamonds on black velvet. Did you ever imagine this? Tom asked. Back in that cell, when you were trying to communicate with patterns. Shade's response appeared on Tom's personal screen. Hoped. Always hoped. Needed right human to see. To understand. Hard to believe they thought you were just a predator. Am predator, Shade replied, humor in its movements. Also diplomat, scholar, friend. Many things can be true at once. Humans learning this now. Tom nodded. Yesterday, he'd seen a human child and a young Nightwalker playing together in the new school's courtyard. The human was teaching the Nightwalker to play hopscotch, while the Nightwalker showed the human how to make shadow puppets. Future is bright, Shade commented, watching Tom smile. Yes, Tom agreed, because we chose to trust. They stood together, human and Nightwalker, friend and friend, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, other species waited to be understood. Other fears waited to be overcome. Other trusts waited to be given and honored. It was a good beginning.